he resisted it by, or at least in the last encounter that they had, when she grabbed his garment, he got out of that garment and he got out of that house. He didn't even say a word to her, right? He got out immediately.
I want to point that out. I'm just add this real quick, because we always talk about fighting temptation. He just ran from it. I love that he
ran. He was like, I'm not doing this.
You don't have. Sometimes we just don't got to put ourselves in that situation. Just get out of the situation completely, which is what he did. Welcome to episode 28 of the Carry Podcast. We are your lovely hosts. We are your hosts. I'm Donovan Carey, and this is my beautiful wife, Tiara.
Hey, guys.
So this episode, we're going through Genesis chapter 39.
Yes.
I know, we're making our way there.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I was a little confused. I was like, wait, is it 28 already? I don't know. I was mixing. I don't know. It doesn't. But yes, we're here. Finally, at the Joseph story. Before we begin, I just want to let you guys know, if this is your first time here, just what we're doing. We are reading the Bible from the beginning to the end, and we basically study separately. We come together on this couch, and we discuss any lessons we might have learned, anything that
stood out to us.
Right. We basically just trying to grow in the Word together, and we're just inviting you along that journey with us. So, I mean, the whole mission here is to point everybody to God, most importantly, pointing people to His Word and growing in His Word. So,
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of interesting stories we are learning. So, yeah. Well, I guess I can kind of talk through where we were, because it's kind of hard to get to this chapter.
Just a little recap.
Yeah, so a little recap for chapter 37, actually, not 38. But in chapter 37, essentially, Joseph, who was having dreams, had his brothers a little jealous. And then initially, his brothers were, thinking about killing him.
Yep.
But instead, they decided to sell him into slavery.
Right.
To the Ishmaelites.
Yes.
Right, which are the descendants of Ishmael.
Yes, it was some traders that were heading to Egypt.
Yes. So last we heard, he was sold to the Ishmaelites, and they were going to go to Egypt.
Yes.
And that's pretty much where this chapter began.
Yes, it ended with them selling him over to Potiphar.
Okay.
Right.
So they sold him to Potiphar in Egypt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We're going to do this episode a little bit different than how we typically do it. Usually we kind of go verse by verse and just kind of share our thoughts. But this time I'm going to just give a summary, kind of somewhat, of the chapter. And then we're going to discuss the lessons or anything that we want to share with each other afterwards. So the chapter starts by letting us know that the Lord is with Joseph, right? And because of that, Joseph is blessed, and everything that he touches is blessed as well, right? And Potiphar, he notices this and he becomes very pleased. So he makes Joseph his assistant, I guess you could say.
I think they called him an overseer, was it?
Yeah, he was like an overseer. So basically,
he ran the house.
He ran the house. They placed him in charge of everything, the household, and all of everything he had, basically.
Yeah. That's pretty common too with wealthy families. They'll have like a head butler or something.
Right, like we saw that with Eliezer and Abraham.
Exactly. So I think that's pretty normal for wealthy people, and clearly he's pretty wealthy in this time.
I thought it was interesting because, Potiphar is Egyptian, and he trusted a Hebrew man, a Hebrew servant, to be over everything. So I thought that was very interesting. But just to keep it going, because Potiphar placed Joseph in charge of everything, from that day, the Lord blessed Potiphar's house and everything he owned. So his crops and his livestock started to flourish. He was good. Potiphar didn't have to worry about anything except, from what it said, the things he needed to eat, right?
Yeah.
So the Bible described Joseph as being very handsome, well-built, and he caught the eye of Potiphar's wife. So it said that she laid her eyes on him. She was looking at him lustfully. She wanted to have sexual intercourse with him.
She wanted to seduce him.
She wanted to seduce him. She was basically passing sexual advances.
Right.
Joseph, he politely declined, right? Like he basically told her, your husband trusts me with everything. He hasn't held anything back from Joseph except one thing, and that one thing was her, right? Obviously, it's his wife. And he said to her, how then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Basically saying this is beyond Potiphar, right? This will be an issue between God and I, right?
Absolutely.
So she
continues,
kept going. It went through one ear, not the other, right? She kept pushing day after day. And Joseph just tried to ignore her. He tried to avoid her as much as possible, but obviously he worked there, so it's only so much he can do. Finally, one day, she got my guy. So one day he went inside the house, and it just so happened that none of the other servants were there. And she grabs him by his garment and she tells him, come on, sleep with me. And this time Joseph says nothing. He gets out of the garment and he runs away. He gets out the house immediately, right?
Yeah.
And when she noticed that she still had it in her hand, she called the other man inside, her other servants, and basically told them this lie. And she said, see, he has brought among us a Hebrew to laugh at us. He came in to me to lie with me and cried out with a loud voice. And as soon as he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried out, he left his garment beside me and fled and got out of the house. Pretty much trying to control the narrative, right? Before Joseph could say anything. So she waited for her husband to get there. And then when Potiphar got there, she told him the same lie. Potiphar, hearing his wife, he gets upset. He's angry, and he throws Joseph into prison, into the Pharaoh's prison. The Lord was still with Joseph, even in the prison, to the point where even the prison warden started to favor Joseph, right? He basically trusted Joseph to be over the other prisoners and put him in charge of all the duties of the prison, basically, right? And he didn't even have to oversee him. He was running the prison. He was head man there, and the warden didn't even have to oversee Joseph. So that's just how much he trusted him. And it made a point to let us know that whatever Joseph did, the Lord made it succeed. So that is where the chapter basically ended. Many good lessons
a lot
that
came out of it.
I got from this one.
All right, well, you want to start?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Okay, so the very first thing that I zoomed in on was on the Lord's presence in Joseph's life. Even through all the affliction, even through all of the hardship, well, him being in the pit initially, right? Let's not forget that. Him being in Potiphar's house as a servant, as a slave, and then also in the prison. The Lord was still with him through all of that. And he still blessed Joseph through it all, right? Just because God is present in our lives, or just because we have given God a yes or Jesus a yes, right, does not mean that life is not going to come with its trials. Life is not going to come with the tests, the storms, grief, loss, pain, suffering. Life is still going to come with that.
Absolutely.
However, what this shows me is that God will still walk through it with us. If you get what I'm saying. And that was a very hard concept for me to grasp, because you know me, like I really thought, like when I gave my life over to Christ, that everything would be easy, breezy, beautiful, but it was not. I will say, because the big question that I had was the why, and I'm still developing an answer for that. But what I think it is, God is showing his glory through us, and he's showing his faithfulness to us, while also showing his power that sustains us when life tries to break us.
I like that, because it's kind of, like there's a saying, like, you only appreciate the sun when it rains. Right? Like, how are we supposed to really appreciate God if we never have to take us through anything? Right? Like, you look at a lot of what we see with just idolatry and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not even gonna go there. But yeah, I think that it's very consistent with what you're saying.
Right? I know that recently I was just on social media scrolling, and I saw this post, and I very briefly brought this up to you, but I saw this post where this young lady had asked for people to comment below stories of, God doing something for them, that people may, like their testimony, that people may not believe. And I was just sitting there reading the comments and reading the different testimonies. And I'm like, a lot of this stuff were very bad situations turning into something good. And I'm just like, it's moments like this, because I know I'm not the only one that's reading this at the moment that's like, oh, wow, like God is real. God is moving. You just see God moving through people, because it's not the place where God is moving through. It's the people he's moving through. So it was so beautiful to watch these people's testimony, because I'm pretty sure in the moment when they're going through these things, you're not thinking about it.
Absolutely not.
But when you get through it and you're able to share that testimony, you can sit there and you can encourage the next person to say, I got through it and God got me, like led me through this situation. And this is where I am today, to encourage somebody else that might be in that same storm or a similar storm or a storm in general, just to let them know that, hey, there's another side to this, you know?
Yeah. I actually had written down Isaiah 54:17, very popular verse. No weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of this chapter speaks to it, where Joseph is in essentially slavery. And then prison. And in both cases, what should have been a bad thing actually turned out to be, I mean, we know overall it's going to turn out to be a great thing.
An amazing
but
thing.
Also, even in the midst of those situations, God is blessing him, right? He has this blessing. I think there's something else I saw too. One thing I really liked about Joseph in this case is that Joseph, despite him being in slavery and not really expecting to be a slave, you could tell he worked really hard. And, you know, there's a Bible verse, Proverbs 10:4, that says, a slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Right? And I think that was perfect to describe Joseph. And I think what happens a lot of times, what we've seen with everybody so far, from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob and now Joseph, was that when God is blessing them and they're working hard on top of it, because all of those guys were working hard. We see that it's not even just evident as far as wealth. Everyone else could even see it on them. It's like there's something about them that people know. It's like, no, that they got something else working with them. And we saw that with Abimelech twice, between Abraham and Isaac. And then we saw that with Laban and Jacob, where people are like, they get elevated. And we see it twice in one chapter with Joseph, literally, because they have God with them. And I think that is a testament to us being sure that whatever we're doing, whether we are a janitor, whether we're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, that we got to bring God with us. Because it's obvious to people. And when it's obvious to people, you never know who you could affect. You never know who life you can change. You know?
I agree. I agree. I also was looking at Joseph's situation as being representation of hardship and storms and etc. The one lesson that I gathered from it as well was the fact that, yes, it's temporary, because when you think about it, he was only in the pit temporarily. He was only in slavery temporarily. He was even in prison temporarily, right? But again, like you said, he continued to work hard. He made the best out of the situation. I don't recall seeing him angry or mad at God.
Never. He never even complained.
No, he didn't complain at all, right? He still remained faithful to God in the midst of it all. And I think that it's important to understand that usually these situations that may be hard for us, these temporary situations, it could be God preparing us for something greater, right? And we see this with Joseph. Everything that he went through wasn't wasted whatsoever. You talked about this before, how God was preparing Joseph to be able to interpret dreams, right? That would be something that would help him get out of jail, basically, and get him to that high position. But also, he was working on his administrative management skills, leadership skills in the midst of all of this as a servant before he actually put him in second command of the Pharaoh to lead a whole country.
He's going to be the top administrator.
The second commander. He was like a second in command. Right. So God was preparing him, you know, with smaller responsibilities, and then eventually gave him something so much bigger. Right. So I thought that was just a testament of just like God doesn't waste anything. And
so then the question is, do we sometimes waste our time in that area because we are so focused on the hardship around us? We are so focused on whatever situation we are in and how bad it is, and we're feeling sorry for ourselves. Or we even could be so focused on getting through it that we missed the whole point of us going through it in the first place.
Yes.
Like, if he would have had the mentality of, I guess God wouldn't have used him, but just for the sake of argument, if he had the mentality of, I can't wait till I get through this. God, I can't wait till God just put me through this. I can't wait for God to put me through this. He would not have spent the time to actually learn what God needed him to learn, so that when he takes him to that next level, he's able to do the job.
Right.
And I think that that's another thing that, I mean, it happens a lot, right? Like,
it is. I think it's so important for us to ask ourselves when we are in those situations, what is it that God is trying to teach us in this moment? What is it something that I'm supposed to be learning in this moment? I think that's the biggest thing that I am trying to work on.
I ain't said, y'all.
I know I am. I say this all the time. I say it all the time because life be lifing, okay? But in the midst, I am trying to figure out, okay, God, what is it that you're wanting me to gather from this?
Yeah, that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part.
It's not that easy.
I think that's for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think you actually see it while you're there, though. And I think that's where what Joseph's doing is so good as far as just working hard.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to know how this paid off until the next chapter.
Right.
And not literally the next chapter, but until his next chapter in his life where he's like, oh, he's going to realize I gained these skills from here, from prison and slavery. Right?
And before then, because remember, he was obedient. Remember, he was working under his brothers at one point.
That's true.
And then he was being obedient to his dad, right? And that's how he ended up where he is today. So he's been working at this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's, and it's also a testament to just how humble he is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, at this point, I'm sure he knows the favor that God has had over his dad and so-and-so's life.
Yeah.
It must be a very humbling experience for him in this moment to now become a slave.
Yeah.
But he's taking it and moving in stride with it, to be honest.
Exactly. And I think it's important for us to keep in mind Romans 8:28, where it says, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good. For those who are called according to his purpose.
Yeah. I think to me, the next piece was more so centered around his ability to just withstand the constant pursuit of Potiphar's wife.
Okay.
And I think that was extremely interesting to me. That whole dynamic was interesting to me. First, starting on Joseph's side, one thing I love that Joseph said was, and you actually said it, but it was, this is King James Version, y'all. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?
Yes.
Right? As she's pursuing him.
Right.
I think that's interesting because right after it follows up with the fact that she was pursuing him daily and he was able to reject it.
Yes.
And I think that's important because he was not doing it like you said earlier. I love that you said he wasn't doing it for Potiphar.
Right.
He was doing it because he was going to sin against God.
Exactly.
And I think we have to keep that in mind. Like, we have to move that way where we know something is not right with God. That has to be the why. Yeah. Because we would always fail flesh. Right. It's just the reality of life.
Right.
I don't care how loyal you are. Over time, you will fail.
Right.
We all sin and fall short. But if we keep God, right, I think that helps to build that other stuff. That's why it does say God gives us the spirit of power, love, and self-discipline, right? I think what we're seeing here is that practice of self-discipline, which is also a fruit of the spirit.
Yes. Yeah. You know what that part reminded me of? Of course, Adam and Eve.
Yeah, me too. I actually wrote them down.
Yes, it reminded me of it because, Potiphar held nothing back from him except that one thing, right? Which was his wife. Yet that one thing was being used against him to tempt him, right? And if we look at verse 7, it says, and I'm talking about Genesis 39:7. It says, and after a time, his master wife cast her eyes on Joseph. If we go to Genesis 3:6, this is the NIV. It says, when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it as well. This is why Apostle John said in 1 John 2:16 that the lust of eyes comes not from the Father, but from the world, right? Now, Eve, she fell into sin when sin against God, when she, of course, put her eyes on the fruit and ate it, right?
Yep.
Passed it on to Adam, and he too fell into sin against God. Mind you, the Lord spoke to Adam and he gave him access to every tree in that garden except one, which was the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Yet neither Adam or Eve resisted it, which is the complete opposite of what Joseph did, right? With the one thing that he
didn't have access
to, right? He resisted it.
Yeah, that's a good parallel.
He resisted it by, or at least in the last encounter that they had, when she grabbed his garment, he got out of that garment and he got out of that house. He didn't even say a word to her, right? He got out immediately.
I want to point that out. I'm just add this real quick, because we always talk about fighting temptation. He just ran from it. I love that he
ran. He was like, I'm not doing this.
You don't have. I found that because it's something I had never. Sometimes we just don't got to put ourselves in that situation. Just get out of the situation completely, which is what he did. You know, I mean, granted, Potiphar still believed her.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in the eyes of God, in the eyes of God, he didn't even stay long enough to put himself through the temptation. He just was gone.
Exactly. And that's why in 1 Corinthians 10:13, it says, the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, he will show you a way out so you can endure. And Joseph is proof of that. And you know who else is proof of that? Jesus, right? When he was in the wilderness and he was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, and the devil was tempting him. And you know what his way out was?
The word
of God.
Yeah.
And you know what Joseph's way out was? Technically, spiritually, was the fear of God.
Yeah.
So there's ways to get out of temptation, and it's in the word of God.
Yeah. Well, I think just once again, like, to me, come on, stay away from it. You know, how many times does the word warn us about flesh in our eyes? And just stay away. Don't put yourself in a predicament to be tempted.
Yeah.
As best you can. And if you're in there, run away.
Self-discipline. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit comes into play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that part of it. I mean, you really got to respect Joseph just looking at this, because there's two ways he could have saw this, right? A worldly person would have saw this and said, I'm running the house. It's my position. I should get the woman.
Right.
But because he's walking in the Spirit, he's looking at it exactly. That's why I like the parallel you made. All right, in the eyes of God, I can have all of this except this one thing. I don't need it.
Right.
Right. And so,
I mean, it's the complete opposite of Potiphar's wife, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, this ain't the first time. Well, the vibe that I'm getting is she don't usually get declined.
Yeah.
She always get what she wants.
I have a whole thing in here about rejection, because I think you really don't see a person until you reject them.
Yeah.
Because that's when you start to see people become manipulative. In her case, she just lies on them.
Yes.
Right? She tries to control the narrative. And we see that a lot. Like, someone gets rejected, and how often do they go and just change the story?
Right.
Hey, this happened, and you like.
That's why I said she was trying to control the narrative.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think another point that because when I read it and it said she casted her eyes upon him, I saw it as when you're walking in the Spirit, it's so noticeable that she was attracted. I feel like she don't even know that that's what she was attracted to, but that's what she was attracted to. No different than Abimelech. Maybe it wasn't sexual attraction, but he knew. He's like, no, God, your God is with you.
Yeah.
Same thing with Laban. He's like, nah, your God is with you. And I think it's interesting that she becomes attracted to Joseph after the house begins to prosper. So,
well, it said that he was good looking, and
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it said it.
I didn't see that. When you said it, I was like, does it say that?
It actually says it. It says it in verse 6, right before 7.
See, in King James, it say, and Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. That's all it says.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say he's good looking. They just made that up.
It said he was a very handsome and well built young man.
Yeah, they just made that up. They gotta stop.
I don't know.
I'm
That's
going
that's what it say here.
Yeah, because when you said that, I was like, but I'd be missing stuff. So I was like, maybe I missed it. But yeah, it
but
just
I
don't
mean,
say it in King James.
I don't know.
But either way, the point I was making is when you're walking with God, you got that glow.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
You got the glow. People see it. People gonna see it. People gonna see it in the way you act. People gonna see it in the way you move, the way you carry yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are responsible now. You are responsible to something other than yourself.
Yes.
Something higher than yourself.
Yes.
Something higher than your flesh.
Yes.
And because so many people walk in the world, it's gonna be obvious, right? It's that one person walking. You know how you see those commercials where everybody's wearing a white shirt and then there's one person with a red shirt.
Yeah.
You're the red shirt.
Yeah.
Right. You look different. So. And I think that's what attracted her to Joseph. Yeah. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, it could have been all.
Yeah, could have been all. He could have also just been great looking.
Could have just been good. I mean, I think it was, honestly. I think it was a combination.
Yeah.
I think it was a combination. But another thing that I gathered from this was, especially with Joseph doing everything right. He did everything he was commanded to do. He was, a man of integrity. Yeah, he was still falsely accused and falsely imprisoned, right? One thing that this told me was there's a cost to righteousness. And sometimes it can cost you everything in the short term. Yeah. And sometimes you may not see the immediate reward, should I say. But I will say that walking in righteousness does put us in a position to receive God's vindication, as well as to receive his ultimate reward. Matthew 5:10-12 says, God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you are my followers. Be happy about it. Be very glad, for a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. Yeah. We are constantly seeing how Christians are being attacked around the world, right? Absolutely. Like, it's, like you said, that attraction, but not in a good way from the enemy. They see that glow and they want to attack. The things that we're seeing today is nothing new. This has obviously been happening since biblical times here, right? So, and just to see Joseph go through it, it's just something to keep in mind that, walking in righteousness it's not easy, and it can come with a cost.
Yeah, it's not always rewarding.
And it's not always rewarding immediately. But we just have to keep in mind that there is a bigger reward later for us, right?
Absolutely.
Later for us. Absolutely. So that's what matters.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, when you look at not just Joseph, but I think, Jacob was a really good thing for this too, even though it's debatable because of where he was when he started his kind of storm. Yeah. But, us just walking in righteousness or trying to be righteous, trying to be holy. The King James Version says, when it says fruit of the Spirit, it does not say patience. It says long suffering. Yeah. Patience seems so nice. Yeah. Patience seems like you're just waiting, doing nothing. Long suffering is truly the definition of it, which is the grace you have to have while you're also suffering. Yeah. And not to forget, we're also called to forgive. Yeah. Even those who are making us suffer in that time. Yes. And so I'm not saying I got it all figured out. Not easy.
Obviously, we learning. We are figuring it out.
Absolutely.
Yes, but we're just sharing the lessons that
stood out
to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So now we got that. Do you got anything else to do with?
Yeah. Well, I also wanted to add that not only did Joseph contrast Adam and Eve, but he also contrasts Judah. So you remember how we just thought that Judah's and Tamar's story was just randomly put there?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
But I think God strategically placed that story there to show how Judah fell into sin. Yes. He sinned against God, right? With sexual immorality, with not holding up the levirate marriage and straying far away from God. We were basically seeing Judah in the flesh, right? Yeah. And then it followed up with Joseph, who was faithful to God, who was right, who was faithful to God, who was resisting temptation. He was walking in the spirit. And I feel like God was just showing us the difference between flesh and the spirit, right? And I think, if anyone is questioning, like I was, like what exactly that means, I feel like Galatians 5:19-23 really explains pretty clearly, right?
Preach on it. What does it say?
It says the acts of the the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, and debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, fashions, in envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. So if you want to know the difference between the two,
there you go.
There you go. Very plain and clear.
I love where you went. And I'm going to try to add a little bit to that parallel because I thought that was good. I don't even know if we'll call it a parallel. That's more like a juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Right? They're the opposite.
Right.
One of the things that I talked about last episode was how pretty much when Judah was going into this sexual immorality, he had to give up his identity and authority.
Yes.
And Joseph had his identity and authority stripped from him. Yet he was the one standing strong and gaining his new identity, or gaining his identity back, or however you want to see it. But his gaining authority is really where I should have went. Gaining authority in God through this. And when I say gaining authority is what I'm saying, he's being elevated.
Yes.
Right? He keeps getting elevated.
Yes.
His position is getting elevated by him moving with God. So as you were saying, I was like, that's actually interesting because that's also a juxtaposition.
It's actually interesting that you saw that or thought of that. Yeah.
That's just now. Because I didn't think about that one before.
No,
but that actually makes sense.
Yeah, that was a
why
good
they will put that chapter right before this chapter.
Exactly.
We're going to tell you how not to do it and then how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. I know the part where Potiphar's wife lied on Joseph to her husband. It bothered me a bit, but I did see a lesson in that one as well. What came to my mind was we can't allow ourselves to be deceived out of our own blessings.
Interesting.
Remember, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake.
Yeah.
So when he was deceived and lied to from his wife, right? He then removed Joseph out of his house.
He removed the blessing.
Exactly. So we know that, even though the Bible didn't state it, the Lord was with Joseph.
Yeah.
The blessings were tied to God's presence through Joseph. So Joseph is no longer there. The blessings are no longer there. Not saying that he went like downhill, but I'm pretty sure it went back to
where it was.
Ordinary, right? Yeah. I took that as us Christians today should not miss out on the blessing from God by believing lies instead of holding on to God's truth.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Potiphar was with Joseph for 11 years. It didn't say here, but think about it. So Joseph was 17 when he was sold into slavery. He was 30 years old when he was promoted to second in command with the Pharaoh. Prior to that, he was only in prison for 2 years. So that means he was 28 years when he was thrown into prison. So that's 11 years.
Yeah.
So Potiphar, you saw Joseph for 11 years. You trusted him to be in charge of everything of your home, right? For all of this time, you know the truth about Joseph. You know he's a man of integrity here. For you to allow him to be in charge of your household, right? You're not going to put somebody you don't trust over your household. That's just not normal, right? So when your wife come to you and tell you this lie all of a sudden and you believe her, not saying you shouldn't believe your wife, but I'm just saying in this case, he believed his wife lies, which caused him to remove the blessing out of his home. You know what I'm saying? So Jesus actually says in John 8:44 that the devil is the father of all lies. So he will use people, situations, systems to twist the truth about God so that we could feel comfortable in living in sin, right? Because it feels good, because it sounds good, because it looks good. But as a result of this can cause us to blindly walk out of the presence of God. Yeah. Right? We cannot be living in sin and also be in God's presence.
Say it again.
Oil does not mix with water. We know this, right?
Can't serve two masters. It say that in the Bible.
Exactly. That's why Paul says, what fellowship can light have with darkness? What harmony is there between Christ and Belial, which is another word for Satan, right?
Yeah.
They're not mixing together. We have to make a choice. Unlike Potiphar, where he was unable to discern the truth from a lie, we have to use the gift of discernment to be able to discern between the truth and the lie.
And the word.
The word.
The word, because we see that the devil in a lot of cases twists the word.
Yes.
And so if we don't know the word, how can we decipher between the truth and the lie?
Exactly.
Right? And he'd been doing that from Genesis.
Yes.
And he did it with he attempted to do it with Jesus.
Yes.
And he will continue to do it. And so one of the reasons we started the podcast is to try to get people to reading the word
for yourself.
I'm not saying pastor's not good. I'm not saying that watching YouTube and all of that stuff, that's all good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need to read the word for yourself.
Yes.
So that you can make sure that you understand the word and that you know exactly what it says.
Exactly.
I love that point. But what I would say to what you were saying as far as don't get tricked out of your blessing.
Yes.
If I'm going to Potiphar specifically, it goes back to a point that I said a while back, and I think it stands true. The most important decision you make in your life is who you marry.
Yes.
Because Potiphar actually didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
I was thinking that too, though.
What could he do? His wife.
And because she made a point to make sure that the other men knew, right?
Yeah,
so how would that have made him look?
Yeah. He didn't have the choice.
Yeah.
The choice was made for him a long time ago when he decided to marry her.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's why for us, we have to make sure that we marry people of virtue, women of virtue, I don't know if men of virtue is the right one, but men of God, I'll say. Because what I think is when she came to him, he should have been 100% sure that she wouldn't lie about something like that, because she is accountable to God, like Joseph is accountable to God.
Right.
Now, granted, I'm not, Potiphar, I don't know what he believes, but I'm just saying, as a general rule for us, we have to be very careful about who we marry. We need to make a conscious decision on that.
Right.
Right. And stop putting, I know in our community it's really bad, but stop putting looks and flash and all of that stuff before substance. Because that's how we end up in a bad situation like this. Right. Where literally he's with his wife who is about to disrupt his entire life. And it's nothing he could do about it.
Right.
He is literally in a position.
No respect for him, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. So she don't respect him.
She was ready to cheat.
And she's taking his money out of his house.
Exactly.
His blessing out of his house.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
I kind of saved this for the end because I feel like Jesus spoke to this exact story. So Jesus gives a parable in Matthew 25:14-30.
Yeah.
Where pretty much, I'm just going to sum it up because I'm not going to read the whole thing. But the parable is about a master who entrusts his property to servants and is pleased with those who invest in the increase they were given. Yeah. Right? The servants who are faithful and diligent are commended with the words, well done, good and faithful servant. And I think that is the perfect description. Yeah. Is someone who the master, which is truly God, but by way of Potiphar and the warden and eventually the Pharaoh, they entrust him with their belongings, with their stuff. And at the end, when he's done with them, they will say, well done, good and faithful servant. Yeah. But most importantly, it'll come from God. Yes. Because he's doing the will of God for sure. And we'll see how that will of God comes back to save the people of Israel. Right. So, great chapter. Great chapter. Great chapter. That's the only word you can say. Yes, yes. So we want to thank you guys for joining us on this conversation. Yeah. I mean, if you like the content, and especially if you like the new format, just let us know. Like, share, subscribe, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Yes. Absolutely. Next week we will be going over chapter 40. Yep. Yes. So if you would like, definitely read ahead so that you can join in on our conversation. And I guess we'll see you then. All right. Yes. Y'all have a good one.